Tim had mentioned, we are from the University of Calgary. My name is Natalie, and with me today I have Kendall. And you can begin.
Right.
All right. Everyone wants to remain healthy throughout their entire lives, and it's the public's expectation that allergen exists to heal and cure. And that expectation mirrors allergen's own. Today, Kendall and I are presenting a new precedent for patents. The key question we looked at here today is how can allergen establish itself as the brand name in non-pharmaceuticals, while establishing itself as both a leader in ethical practices as well as improved patent laws.
Now, from this initial question, we delved into three key issues. The first being, how can allergen mitigate the immediate losses of generics coming into the Restasis market? For this, we are recommending you reclassify the Restasis drug to an over-the-counter drug from its original prescription classification in order to achieve full customer trust as well as customer recognition. Our second question was, how can allergen establish investor, consumer, and legislative trust? And for this, we're suggesting you hire a CSO and create a top-down accountability and ethical and transformative leadership within your company. And third and finally, how can allergen mitigate future patent losses and establish itself as an ethical leader? For this, we're suggesting that you create a new industry association in which to promote better patent laws and become a poster child, so to speak, in ethical practices and patent reform within your industry. Key assumptions we made today were that no Restasis generics would be released until next quarter, and that these generics would be released as prescription only. And third and most key to our recommendation today, we are assuming that you will lose the Restasis patents. There's no form of appeals that can fully eliminate the amount that your competitors will be pushing on these patents. And what matters today is setting a base and a better transition and a better way to progress with business moving forward.
So looking at those assumptions, we also had to take a look at what the stakeholders wanted in the scenario of this case. So we took a look at those three major ones on the screen, but we chose to hone in on one specifically, and that's going to be the customers. They're focusing and trusting in the product, staying healthy, and paying reasonable prices for the drugs that they use. This is essential because allergen needs to treat the customers as the primary stakeholder. And so what does it mean to treat the customers as that primary stakeholder? And that's dealt with through ethical leadership. So if we look at where allergen is operating today, that's an ethical egoism, creating the greatest good for themselves. However, if they build on the strengths of the company, they can transition through to that pragmatic utilitarianism, creating the greatest good for that primary stakeholder, which is that customer. And this is going to be able to set allergen as the standard in ethical leadership in the industry. Because currently allergen is in this cluster with the generics brand. So allergen needs to advance beyond the cultural norms to really achieve this recommendation today.
Now, how they will advance these cultural norms are to maintain, prevent, and secure. Within the first phase of our recommendation to you today, maintain, we're looking to strengthen your market share on Restasis before generics can enter the market. To do so, we're suggesting you reclassify from a prescription to an over-the-counter drug. Not only does this make Restasis more accessible to your customers and provide the brand with a positive reputation, but also because of FDA processes and seeing as though Restasis has been on the market since 2003, it gives you 3 years of market exclusivity on the shelves before any generics can transfer over. This, paired with an aggressive marketing campaign and a press release from you, Mr. Saunders, we believe that the public will not only be excited about this change, but be willing to buy and look into the brand. And with this external press release, it's also important we touch today on the Mohawk Agreement itself. In the spirit of ethical business, you must uphold your end of the agreement in order to ensure positive relations moving forward.
In stage 2, which is prevent, we're looking to establish management practices internal to the company that model the ethical direction that allergen needs to move forward in today. Now this is done through a proactive approach using two parts. First will be an internal release from the executives stating that they are accountable for what is happening in the company and provides an ethical direction as well as goal alignment for the entire company. Second, we'll be introducing a chief security officer. Now they will provide policies and strategies to ensure that risks are mitigated in a timely fashion when they do arise. So looking at what it's going to mean to add something to the C-suite in allergen, we're going to need to look at the leadership styles. And transformative leadership is going to be the key to success. That's making sure there's inspiration from the top down so that all employees can embody what it means to abide by the social contract that allergen holds so dear. And so if we hold together the pragmatic utilitarianism with the transformative leadership, together that is the winning combination for the success of our recommendation.
And keying in on this recommendation, we have one third and final step, which is secure, and that's looking to push forward industry standard, both with patent reform and with the future of ethical leadership within your business. We understand that the process of patent renewals has not been to the full standard that is required by the industry. and thus we are suggesting that allergens step forward using their key position to form the AAPP, the American Association for Pharmaceutical Patents. This association will have the following goals: to educate practitioners and lawyers on patent law, as well as to provide legal support for those fighting for patent legitimacy. It has been proven in the past that education is the key for more stronger and directed advocacy, and we believe this will not only relate to changing the industry, but positive benefits to your company itself. The funding won't have to come on Allergen itself. Because of your ties with the Allergen Foundation grant, incorporation fees can be already covered with the receiving of a grant. As well, membership dues will sustain the operational costs, and the association itself will be federal tax deductible and exempt from federal taxes. But why? And why is most important to this recommendation today? Why should Allergen itself step forward to form this association? Not only could it secure your patents stronger in the future, but all media will be positive in ties with your company and in the sense of patent reform and patent laws. And third, it will establish Allergen as an ethical leader, which is now we will outline is the best direction for your company today.
So being an ethical leader means that you need to consider all of your stakeholders. And that again, through our recommendations, satisfies the needs of each of those. But keying in specifically, the customers is that primary stakeholder that our recommendation is so heavily based upon. In the maintain stage, transitioning from the prescription to the over-the-counter is driven by that customer. In stage 2, prevent, hiring that CSO creates internal and external accountability that demonstrates that to your stakeholders. And in secure, the formation of the AAPP gives long-term stability to each of these stakeholders and in total. The maintain stage and the prevent stage are happening immediately, followed by the secure stage that will take from the later half of 2018 towards 2020 that coincides with the social goals of the social contract. The main cost drivers then we collected throughout the recommendation today are going to come to a total of $3.3 million, but that can be reduced due to the grant with the formation of the AAPP. Now, we did identify some risks, and the major one I want to highlight for you today is in the maintain stage. If Restasis does not obtain that OTC over-the-counter approval, that can be mitigated because Restasis has that 3 years of market exclusivity over the generics coming to market.
But all of these risks are minimal when compared to the impacts that this recommendation presents today. By following our steps, you are able to not only become a more recognized and trusted brand by the customer by being more accessible and with a more positive reputation for your drug, you are also creating an ethical and transformative leadership style within your company and promoting a new standard of an industry in terms of law reform and in terms of ethical leadership. Because as Natalie outlined, we all want to live our best and most healthy lives, and as your social contract outlines, you exist to heal and cure. And by pushing forward these impacts and these recommendations, you have the ability to do just that. Thank you.